Mohammed Rashid, meanwhile, I am looking forward to hearing what he has to say about not just what he's doing now, but what he plans to do next. He is the CPO, the Chief Projects Officer at the real estate giant Nikhil, a company that needs no introduction. He delivers a diverse range of projects for them, everything from shopping malls to housing for more than 200,000 people. To give you an idea of the scale of the projects that he's got on his plate right now, they're worth more than 5.5 billion dirhams. And last but not least, fellow Antipodean, Hemant Chowdhury is with us all the way from Adelaide in Australia. He is the founding director of both Circular Economy 360, that's a global centre for excellence in the circular economy, and the Circular Economy Alliance Australia, which now has 15,000 executives all learning from each other. He's collaborated with think tanks and unilateral organisations around the world, such as the UN. They're going to come on stage now, and I'm going to set them talking. And you've all eaten some carbs. So, Ladia, do you want to start by telling us, when we talk about the circular economy, particularly when we're talking about projects, set the scene, what do we mean?
So, first of all, what circular economy is not, it is not linear. So, linear economy is traditional one, when we take something, we use it, and then we throw it away. So, we do not care about resources. While in the contrary, circular economy starts with design. And we think about it, what do we need, how to design it, and then we take it, and then we use it, and when we have the product or the service, we are taking care to maintain the value for as long as possible, meaning we are repairing, refurbishing, reusing, and at the very end, recycling. So the first message starts with design, ends with recycling. It's not only about recycling.
Okay, what does it look like in practice though? The man with a lot of plans on his desk. Talk to me about what Nikhil is doing with this right now.
Thank you, Brandy, for the welcome everybody. I'm really privileged to be here in front of you for the next year. First of all, since we are talking about economy, let me put some numbers to it. The value of construction industry in UAE this year is more than $40 billion, expected to reach to $51 billion by 2029. When we look at the value, circular economy is important to build efficiency into that economy and bring that efficiency back as a resource, back into the economy again, to build a bigger growth for all of these nations, whether UAE or all the other nations who is involved into the circular economy. The efficiency important into the resource, which is natural resource, I think human resource, technological resource, or even financial resource. And that all will allow the economy to grow to a much more bigger scale, which will add a value to everyone involved into this. However, circular economy cannot be achieved only by, let's say, real estate developer. Circular economy needs the entire ecosystem to work together, from contractor, consultant, local authority, all the people who's involved in the process in order to achieve the maximum result of the circular economy. And my fellow members here, they are the expert into this, and they can even give us more, light into the circular economy and this application.
We're going to do that, but I know you say it's not just the real estate developers, but you guys pretty much are the real estate developer, aren't you? So can you tell me what you're trying to do in Nikhil at the moment to do this?
Basically, in any organization, we are trying to create efficiency. And the efficiency which we are trying to create, we are trying to create efficiency in our resource, in our material, in our time, and in our quality. We are implementing a lot of technology to help our people to achieve much more within their timeline. The day will never change, it's 24 hours, no matter what your task is. So if you are busy, you better learn something new to make you more efficient, otherwise you will just swipe out of the picture and we become too slow like, a turtle. So learning some skills to make you much more efficient is the only way for you to grow and to become better. Having said that, learning of the human resource and the people that you have, training them, making them better, is not the only one. You need also to focus on the technology, because the technology is an enabler. I remember last year a lot of people on this session was fascinated by ChatGPT and they were worried if ChatGPT will take their jobs. ChatGPT is part of the technology, and technology will always be a tool to make you faster, better, and more accurate. Using the technology allowed us not only to reduce our snags into handover unit. After implementing the technology for 2 years, now we crossed the 80% of our unit handed over to customer with zero snag. Our target is 100%. My team thinks sometimes I'm crazy, but it's the only way for us to progress forward.
What kind of tech?
We are using software that we bought from a company and we enhanced it internally. But in line with that software, we also improve our own internal process. And we did enough training for our teams. And I think in the beginning it was just another software for them, but after using it, they realized the benefit, and even our contractor, consultant, and everybody start buying into it because they found out that doing the right protection during the construction reduce the snag. That means their time is being saved. They don't need to travel again to the site and solve a problem. That's all part of, again, the circular economy which we are talking about, and building efficiency into the entire process.
Okay, so Mohammed has mentioned 2 types of payoff there. He's given us some numbers and dirhams, economic numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing I would like to stress is because efficiency was mentioned, and the other term is sufficiency. Because we should think about that, what is enough and what is too much, and how to use resources wisely. So both terms should work hand in hand. And now to one interesting number related to how circular we actually are on the global level. So every year the circularity gap report is published, and the new one is coming up next week. So last year the result was 7.2%. What does it mean? That on the global level we are only capable to reuse and recycle everything what we said, 7.2% of all the materials that we take into our production and consumption process. So that is telling us, are we good managers? We are not, if we are managing resources in such a bad way. And back to that, when do companies start to understand why to implement circular economy? The question is, what is in it for me? So where is the benefit? And the question is, if we are not implementing these principles, what is that? Then we are losing. And we saw what happened this year also, because I'm from Europe, with all the catastrophes, we've got droughts, we've got fires, everything. So if we do not think in advance how to be more resilient, how to be prepared for all these changes, then we are losing. And the CEOs, there was one study made by Ambrosetti House among 500 CEOs in Europe, and they said, yeah, we are implementing circular economy because it pays off. So it is something what is beneficial for the business. It's not something what comes at the very end. So that's why, it was nicely said, it should be embedded in the core of the business, in the KPIs, not just nicely reported at the end of the day. So it's really everyday task.
Yeah, you've given us a couple of ways of measuring the value and the payoff. How are companies measuring at the moment? How should they be? Tell me about value.
So first of all, there are 3 components. One is economic, so the other one is environmental, and the third one, of course, is related to the human capital that was mentioned, that this is the societal dimension. So what can the companies do? First, you have to know where you stand. So to know what your business is about, if we are going back to the energy, how much energy you're using, how to reduce the use of energy, how to replace the energies, and so on. So measurement is very important. Indicators that you set up, as I said, the KPIs, and then you see the progress, and you should monitor it on the long term. It is not happening overnight, and sometimes you have to invest at the beginning, but it will pay off for sure.
But you have to convince people to invest at the beginning, and I look to Hemant now. Buy-in. How do you get that buy-in? Who do you get the buy-in from, and what are the strategies around that?
Buy-in is very, very important because this requires a lot of ownership, and people at the coal face need to be empowered and allowed to contribute in the circular economy journey, because they really understand what's really going on, but I guess sometimes nobody asks them the right questions. So let me give some real life examples which I have been involved in. So this is going back 1996. Australia's largest mining redevelopment project. I was a life cycle advisor on that project. Our production was going to double from 150,000 tons of copper, gold, uranium, and silver to 300,000 tons per annum. But based on the conditions imposed on us by the regulatory bodies, we were only allowed extra 50% of water, and the daily water consumption was 32 gigaliters, and we were only given another 18 gigaliters to draw from the aquifer. And we had very strict guidelines put, or requirements put in terms of our energy and waste. So as a result, I actually I had a mandate from the management. I was relatively young that time, and a lot of energy. So I worked with close to 200 engineers from different departments, different sections. So from hydrometallurgy, from mining, from smelter. And the aim was this, that I actually took them out from their day-to-day work and said, look, how can I encourage you to challenge your own work and your own designs, you know? And you will be surprised, they would come up with some such innovative ideas and projects. So to give an idea, we not only met all the targets, but in the process of this engagement, we designed and generated close to 70 projects in 1 year with an annual saving of around $40 million. And those savings were always there, but nobody asked them the questions and got them out of their comfort zone to actually challenge their own operation.
Speaking of stakeholders, and speaking of being young and energetic, as stakeholders get younger, whether that's shareholders, whether that's people coming up through management rank, does it get easier to sell the circular economy, and how does that change the conversation?
Circular economy is not a hard sell, to be very honest, because it achieves multiple objectives, both environmental, social, and economic. All of them, to be very honest. So I don't think it's a hard sell. What really needs to happen is, first of all, there has to be, as Mohammed said, ownership and connection at the highest level. So the CEO has to really believe that this matters. That's the most important thing. And that commitment then has to flow into then your workforce, to your contractors, to your suppliers. And that's where you start to build an ecosystem and a culture of circular economy.
Okay. Mohammed, I always want to talk to you about hiking, which is what we were talking about in the green room, by the way, not project management at all. Because it feeds into exactly what we're talking about today when we're talking about ownership. We were talking about the rise in popularity of hiking. Stay with me. Here in the UAE and hiking trails and more expats who might not necessarily have the buy-in to the physical future of this country getting involved. Mohammed, keen hiker, great on Instagram for this, by the way. How does that connection with the land help what you're trying to do here, before we talk about Nikhil's next project?
I think every one of us need to care about the nature. And this is where we get our food, we get our water, we get the oxygen that we breathe every day. And if you don't have that responsibility towards your nature or surrounding, I don't think you will be good at anything. You know, this is something, responsibility not only for our generation, but we are responsible to leave this earth as we found it, or even better, for the next generation. And the more you go in the outdoor, the more you appreciate what you have, and you appreciate your environment. Building on that, and I just add to what my colleague said here, maybe a lot of people think that the circular economy is a choice now. If they don't choose that path now, tomorrow there will be scarcity in resource where they will be forced to. So they better, from now, try to work with these resources and try to use as minimum as possible from that resource and recycle them in the economy in order to make those resources last longer for generations to come. And I think this is the main message for circular economy. We are now privileged that we have the choice, but there will come a time where the resource will get stretched to a limit where no one can get enough of that resource. I'll give you an example in our industry. I mentioned at the beginning of my talk that the value of the construction this year in UAE is around $40 billion. There are no enough contractors to deliver this. That's the reality. Why? Because there are no enough resources from labor, from material, from everything. So the only way to be able to achieve this by looking at everything, the way we build, the material we use, the way we execute, the time we allow for these projects. And unless we continue to do this and we continue to improve, we will just be like someone, who's still living in a cave for the last 300 or 400 years and he doesn't want to change.
So tell me how you're doing that at Nakheel. Your future project landscape, and I'm sitting here half with my journalist head on hoping he's going to let something slip here. Tell me what you've got coming up and how those projects are going to have a transformative effect on what we're doing here.
Sure. Nakheel is working in line with, I think, Dubai Urban Plan 2040 and the Dubai 33 agenda. Dubai 33 agenda basically work on doubling the economy of Dubai by 2030. And Dubai 2040 plan, the main keyword for Dubai 2040 plan is the quality of life for everyone who live in the city or who pass in the city or who visit the city. Having said that, Nakheel main vision or main, let's say, message is the happiness and prosperity of the residents of our community. We don't build houses. We deliver community. Community that you live in. Your kids go to the park, they go to school, next door, they shop in a mall, and that's a life that we provide. It's a lifestyle more than just a house you buy in a project. That lifestyle, what brings a lot of people to the city. Some of the speakers yesterday was mentioning how unimaginable the lifestyle in Dubai and how blessed we are here in the city. And believe me, with all of this, Dubai government still wants more. And Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai and Deputy Prime Minister of UAE, always pushing everyone in the city to go to the next level. His Excellency Matar Al-Tayar today was mentioning in his speech, that we go with certain plan and he wants always the best for Dubai and for Dubai people. And this is the reality. Dubai not working on today. They are working on 2040. How the quality of life in 2040 for Dubai residents will be. And that's an important goal where we need all to work on that. Having said that, we announced the refreshed master plan of Dubai Island.
Yep.
That master plan basically will bring around 80 hotels and resorts to Dubai, which is more to enrich the tourism industry in Dubai. That will add 20 more kilometers of beaches to Dubai coastline. And this is, again, something important to Dubai. One other thing, I think there are some of my colleagues and team members here who achieved the great achievement for Nakheel last month, where they secured the blue flag for 8 beaches of Nakheel. And that basically an environmental standard or environmental endorsement for our beaches and making them some of the best beaches in town for our residents, for our community and our visitors. In addition to that, we launched late last year Palm Jabal Ali, where we launched the sales of the first phase, and recently we launched the second phase where we are selling some plots in that area. We have developed a lot of experience in the last 25 years developing these projects. We are bringing all of that know-how to our new project. But one important thing, no matter how you think you know, unless you know your customer first and understand their need, you will never be successful. Your customer is your North Star. I'm Bedouin, I come from desert, and if you don't know the direction, you might die in the desert and will not be able to find your water. So your North Star in any business is your customer. If you don't know your customer, and if you don't know their need, you will be just guessing. Stick to your customer, understand them, and understand their need, deliver what they want, and believe me, the money will come as a result of that. This is, a lot of people just get confused when they go into the business and they just focus on the money. The money is byproduct of delivering the product that your customer wants. In Nakheel, we give a priority to our customer and we focus on our customer and they guide us to a new era of prosperity.
Okay, well, if we're talking about success, Hemant, you have worked with numerous governments, companies, unilateral bodies, trade organisations, and worked with a lot of projects, and you're still young and energetic.
Don't feel it sometimes, but that's okay.
We'll get you out hiking here in Ras Al Khaimah, we'll see how you go. What do you think are maybe, give me 2 or 3 success stories. Who have got it right in the projects that you've worked with or those that you've witnessed, and how and why have they got it right?
Yeah. Before I actually talk about maybe 2 to 3 excellent projects, I would also talk about certain critical success factors that those projects had. And those were a strong commitment from the top, involvement of employees and your stakeholders, number 2, and focus on building a very robust ecosystem. So those 3 things are critical in them, because once you get those 3 things right, the outcomes take care of themselves. So let me talk about a few very interesting projects that I had the pleasure or the privilege to have worked on in. This is again a long time ago, but when we had the first regulatory body established in South Australia, where I come from, we wanted to introduce an industry engagement program, and we called it the Cleaner Industries Program. This is going back almost 30 years. And as a part of that program, I worked with close to 48 industries in the region. But the focus was on prevention, not end of the pipe, but prevention. So the aim was how we could use through better management practices, product modifications, technology modifications, employee participation, how we actually prevent the problem at the source as against an end of the pipe reactive treatment approach. We did these projects over a period of, I guess, 2-3 years. What was interesting was, we had Center for Economic Studies, which is a subset of Adelaide University, do an independent assessment of the project. For every dollar that was invested by us into that program, the return of investment, the participating businesses was $32.3. And that's the benefit. That's how we can actually really make a transformative journey. So that's the first project I will talk about. The second project, I think I briefly mentioned about the largest mining project that I was a life cycle advisor for. And again, that relied a lot on the top commitment and then working with the employees and the workforce. But what was the really interesting part of this was, we talk about how there are regulatory pressures, there are financial pressures, there are community expectations. In fact, those pressures should act as a motivation to actually get better and more efficient. So I look at waste as a direct indicator of inefficiency. In fact, I use in my waste management sort of talks, I say, waste, there's no such thing as a waste. Actually, waste is a resource at a wrong place. Plastic becomes a waste when it is at a wrong place. Otherwise, it's not waste. And so how we actually approach, how we look at this whole situation, the problem itself has the solution embedded in that. So I'll give an example. One of the interesting, and these are low-hanging fruits I'm talking about. There was a book written in the 70s called Factor 4, Doubling Wealth, Halving Resources. So what the book claimed, and it used examples from transport, building, built environment, infrastructure, agriculture, you name it. And using millions of examples, this book actually claimed that we can achieve the same quality of life for 1/4 of our resource consumption. But guess what? From 1970 onwards, we are multiplied our resource consumption by 4 times. So somewhere we are actually not getting that core message out that yes, we can actually have, we can if you work hard at it, we can decouple a lot of our current so-called economic growth from the massive resource consumption that we are doing. So but we just need to be smart at it. Mm-hmm. And we have to approach it in a different way. And the third example, which perhaps again is a bit more about not a company but about a region. And so we started this in the 90s, and South Australia, where I come from, had one of the poorest record of waste management and resource recovery in the entire Australia. I think we hardly had any proper waste segregation, recycling systems. So we actually introduced a waste levy as the starting point, and that was actually to encourage people to minimize waste, but also create a bit of a financial instrument in actually bringing in technology providers into the space. At that time, it was in 1993-94, we introduced $5 a ton, which was opposed. It sits today at $145 a ton, and we achieved close to 90% of waste diversion from landfill in the state, which is perhaps highest in the world. And we achieved that in the span of 30 years. So that it can be done. The reason for that is, if I'm a plastic recycler, I can go now to the council and say, look, it's going to cost you, by the way, $145 a ton to take it to landfill, and by the way, it is banned, so we have created those regulatory barriers. I can take it from you for $100 a ton, and you save $45, I get my business model already established. And by doing this, we have transformed the whole region. So that's the third example.
Okay, well, let's build on that. I mean, you said earlier buy-in isn't hard,
yeah.
But that 7% figure that you gave earlier, if it's not about the buy-in then, how do we get that up?
So first of all, one thing is understanding what circular economy is about, and it should be something what people resonate with. So what is in it for me? Because if it is the topic that is detached, then you wouldn't care. I brought with me the publication that we published during the Slovenian presidency to EU, because that was the case. People were asking us, what is this circular economy? Or how does it resonate? What can I do? And we put it together from different angles, from the business angle, from the cultural aspect, so because values are important as well. So that is the first thing, to understand how to embark on this journey. Then the second thing is to talk about the real examples. And what we have heard here is really inspiring. And where are the savings, but as well, where is the inspiration and innovation? Because we need new kind of thinking. We should go out of the box and think in a new way. And this is very systemic and holistic. So maybe to summarize what I have heard, we are not talking about buildings. We are talking about the lifestyle, how we live. And the building, yes, is one thing. Then there is what I can eat. So do I have a garden? How I can move around? What kind of mobility is connected to that? What about the kids? Is there a good school? So this is a system. And you cannot just focus on one silos. I'm building, I don't know, blocks. No. Or I'm producing food. So now how to connect all that in a way that this is sustainable and circular. And then you realize that there are so many connections. And the flow of the knowledge, something what was learned in the mining, can be used in the food production. I'm exaggerating a little, but you know, that is, then it becomes very playful. And people like to play with this and be innovative. It's not that we are not creative, we were born creative.
Well, we've got less than 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes each, and I'm going to ask for advice. What you've learned, for anyone in this room, how do you make this work for you and your company? The hardest one lessons that you've picked up particularly. Mohammed, do you want to start?
I think since there are a lot of engineers around us here in the room, and since the aspect number one of what we do is the three pillars, time, quality and cost, I want every one of you to always, when you come to his office or his site or his work and every day, make sure that whatever time he's spending it in one of these three areas. Either he is reducing the time of project, or reducing the cost of the project, or increasing the quality. If your effort not adding to one of these three, then you better watch out and focus on where it's really matter. Our time is the most important resource, and unless we use it wisely, we will not be able to deliver the maximum within the timeline that we have. It's important to really use your own resource efficiently, first of all, and then you will be able to use the other resource around you. So focus on your own time, make sure it's really put where it's really matter, and then that's a good infection that will go around to to everyone around you.
Ladia, you're holding a whole book of advice.
No, it's not so true. I don't like listening to advices, neither giving advices. I rather observe, because those who are walking the talk are the true leaders. So I would say keep your critical mind awake and observe who is really doing something what is worth then implementing or somehow integrating into your process. So that would be something what I really am in favor of. And too often when we are facing new solutions, we fall in love with them. So we are not critical. Like I would take the electricity and electric mobility. We cannot have all electric cars. This is a part of solution. We should talk about mobility.
Whoa, hang on, we can't have all electric cars?
No, we cannot have all of them. So electric car is a part of solution, but we have heard what is here, public transport. Excellent public transport is much more efficient than owning an electric car by myself. So this solution should work hand in hand. And that is really important to have this mindset, you know, to ask, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? How are we measuring the progress? And this is what I think should inspire youngsters as well and should be embedded in the educational system so that we have this kind of circular or sustainability literacy. That is really something what counts. So walking the talk, that is absolutely. And what is also important is, I think that we feel it here, to celebrate small steps, really to celebrate and to say, yeah, we did something. We don't have all the answers, but at least we are moving in the right direction. And then when you're celebrating, then you are empowered to go on and to make mistakes as well, but to learn from that. So really to have this atmosphere where people are creative, when people are putting their best, and then they do create something what is real nice. And I would use a quote of Aristotle, who said something like, how is it? Excellence is not an act, it is actually a habit. So don't think about excellence as something is excellent, but let it be a habit.
Hemant.
Look, I like to always, sometimes like to talk about the first principles. And I always believe that if people understand the why, they will figure out the how. The why part is very important. And that's where the concept of what is our connection, what is our accountability. We all in the process of life are going to go through stages of life, and the last thing I would like to actually have a situation where I'm asked some very unpleasant questions by my grandchildren about how I led my life. What is the legacy I leave behind? And I think every leader, every human being owes it to the next generation. What is the legacy they leave behind? And certainly we live in a finite world with finite resources, and we got to ensure that we are leaving a much better legacy for our next generation, because they are going to ask those questions. And they are going to tell us that based on what actions we take today, whether we thought about them or not.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for being with us. In what we won't call the most challenging spot, we'll call it the special spot after lunch, right? Mohammed, that was your point.
Well, it's a privilege to have all of these great people here.
Mohammed, Ladia, Hemant, thank you very much for joining us today. These guys are brilliant on LinkedIn, by the way.